¿Sí? Vale, pues, sorry, again, English. Welcome to the fourth edition of the Urban Talks. The Urban Talks are a series of itinerant talks that aim at opening a debate with citizens, professionals, public and private sector about culture and creativity in the context of urban transformations and urban contexts. For this edition, the Urban Talks has also the support of CENTRINNO, an European Horizon 2020 project that focuses on leveraging the potential of industrial historical sites by valorizing their heritage values while fostering the implementation of the locally productive and creative hubs. I will give the floor to Pablo Muñoz, an urbanist and researcher at Fab Barcelona, that will give us a brief explanation about what CENTRINNO is.
Thank you, Milena. Milena is also a researcher in Fab Barcelona. She's responsible for the local pilot of CENTRINNO as well. Well, welcome everybody to this fourth edition of the Urban Talks. CENTRINNO is a research project. It's funded by the European Union. There are 24 partners working in 9 different cities. The project is led by the municipality of Milano, and IAC Fab Barcelona is the scientific managers of the project. It's a project which objective, as Milena already mentioned just now, is related to testing innovative approaches to how post-industrial or industrial historic sites could be transformed into productive, creative, and innovative hubs. These innovative hubs that are supported and connected with the idea of the Fab City Hub and the Fab City network are an emergent idea or an emergent concept that we are testing in the project. And you'll see now, during the Urban Talks, different approaches to how these Fab City Hubs and creative and proactive hubs have an impact and have different ways of dealing with the problems and obstacles and challenges, but also the opportunities in these specific areas of the city. The 9 European cities that are part of the project are Amsterdam, Copenhagen, Blondvos in Iceland, Barcelona, Geneva, Milan, Tallinn, Zagreb, Paris, and that's all. Thank you very much. I have a great audience here. Okay, so yeah, that's more or less what the project is, but the important thing is that now we'll have time to discuss about the regeneration and different strategies towards the obstacles and challenges and opportunities in these centers from the main actors that are working in these territories.
So, following the topic of keys to urban transformation, today we have the presence of many experts that are coming from different European cities, and they will join the next 3 talks to discuss key elements for the necessary transition of cities. The first talk is titled as From the Hub to the City, a Scale for Urban Transformation, in which we explore how and why the Fab City Hub concept at the local level has the potential to transform and impact across the territory. It will be done and explained by protagonists of 3 different European cities. The second talk is about the actors of urban transformation, exploring both public and private sectors. And the third talk is about designing urban transformation, 505 kilometers from Barcelona to Madrid, in which we will have a talk about the role of public administrations in the expressions of the urban identity. Now I would like to invite Carlota Fontana, an architect and urban designer, and also research project manager at Volumes, to the stage, who will be moderating the next 2 talks. Thank you, Carlota. Thank you, everybody.
Well, I would like to invite the 3 guests to the stage, Cécile, Bojan, Liat, and Zoe. We will have time to present. I will give you the mic to present yourself. Thanks a lot. I would like to thank everybody for the organization, all the people, and you the people that are here that attend the event. So as Milena and Pablo present, today we have 3 cities from the CENTRINNO research project, and as he explained, the 9 cities and the 3 that are in the stage are working on new typology to new space, new typology to bring about larger transformation in the city. And in these 50 minutes that we'll have, I would like to understand how the transformation could start from a place and how from this place we can reach the broader audience of a city. Maybe you could start with a short presentation of yourself, and then I will go with more detailed questions about that. No, maybe you. Sorry. Okay. Yeah.
Oh,
thanks.
there's 4.
Okay.
Should I go?
Yeah. That's
Like that, right? Yeah. You hear me. Hi, my name is Cecilie Bang-Schulze, and I am an urban strategist at the Danish Design Center. So we're working together with the municipality of Copenhagen at the Copenhagen pilot, where we're working in the neighborhood of Copenhagen called Nordvest or Northwest. Yeah.
Thank you, Cecile. So I'm Liat Rogel, and I work in the municipality of Milan in the unit of urban economy, fashion and design as project manager for the activities of the CENTRINNO pilot, and we will talk to you about that later.
I'm Zoe Romano. I'm based in Milan. I'm a digital craftivist and consultant for the CENTRINNO pilot in Milan. And I'm a representative of NEMA, that is a network of profit and non-profit companies in Milan.
Hi, I'm Bojan Baletic. I'm a professor at the School of Architecture. I'm the professor at the School of Architecture in Zagreb, and working on the pilot in the part of Zagreb called Sesvete with the local NGOs.
Yeah, thanks. The first question that I think is important to address is how your city is framing this idea of the Fab City Hub, and what's your local, the model you are developing of this Fab City Hub, which are the form that this model are taking, and how this model is capable to bring larger transformation in the city. And maybe, Cecile, you want to start?
I can do that. In Copenhagen, we're working, or through CENTRINNO, of course, we got presented this Fab City Hub term that all of the pilots are working with, and we've been working on exploring what our take at this would be, and have landed on actually working with this hub approach in a more distributed way. So we're looking at the pilot area that we're working within and looking at the different actors there and see them as an ecosystem or a network and how they can work as a distributed hub. So how do we make these connections between the different actors and kind of identify and also highlight the potentials of actually working within a network in this distributed hub. So what I'm very keen to also explore even further is to see what are on these actors, these different actors' minds, and what do they actually want to collaborate on. So from a very co-creative approach, we want to, together with them, develop how we want to see this hub unfold. And of course, hopefully we will see that we can create a model where everyone sees themselves play a crucial part and everyone gets something out of it. Because we are quite aware of the fact that we're facilitating something throughout this project, but there's also one day where this project will end. And how do we make sure that we create a sustainable network and a sustainable hub that will also work, and the actors will still see the value of this when we're not here as a project anymore. So we're very much focused on sustaining the network, and also, of course, to develop a model that we could see unfold throughout the city. So testing it out in this area, but also hopefully seeing it spread out across the city of Copenhagen to other development areas as well. And I think one of the strengths with this distributed thought of approaching the Fab City Hub is that we can see the different hub networks grow across the city, but also see them as part of a bigger spider web or a bigger network that can use each other's resources across the city.
So if I remember well, in Copenhagen you are testing a model, and then you would like to upgrade this model in a larger part of the city, and you are focusing in a specific area in the northwest of the city, right?
Northwest, yeah, northwest.
Okay. And you having contacts with other area of the city already, or it's just you are focusing there and then you will explore other parts of the city?
We started off when we took on the pilot project with also creating or establishing this kind of expert network, so across different businesses and branches working within urban development to get their perspective, and not only centered around the pilot area, but working across the city, also nationally, but working with urban development, and again, getting their perspectives and point of views on how we could work with this term called creative placemaking, which is really the foundation for creating our hubs. So our hub is really organized or developed around this term called creative placemaking, where we want to see them contribute to creating spaces or making more room and affordable square meters for creative businesses. So how do we make sure that they can stay in the city? And of course, we're using the pilot area as a test bed, but hopefully also by engaging a broader network and a broader network of experts, these ideas and results that come out of the pilot project will live on, and they will take them out into their own businesses and projects.
Okay, thanks. Liat, you want to unfold a little bit better the modeling that has been developing in Milan?
Yes, thank you. I will try to speak a little bit of what it means to develop this idea of a Fab City Hub for the city, so for the municipality. And I would like to speak about it from 2 points of view. One is the structure of the city. So Milan is quite a successful city. It's growing a lot. But if we look at the center, then it's developed, it's rich, you have work, and as you go outside towards the outskirts of the city, there are also some very different situations in the neighborhood. So one of the focuses of the municipality of Milan is to look at different neighborhoods and different districts, not only at the center. And with the pandemic, this has become even more important because the way we live, what we have around us, has become even more important. So the concept of the 15-minute city, for example, is a concept that we are exploring quite a lot in the city. And somehow, in the 15-minute city, you have the issue of mobility, you have the issue of services, you have the issue, of what do you find around you, but not production. So somehow production is not within the 15-minute city concept. And we would like to think that it is. So that you could both get the materials maybe from the neighborhood itself, that could be waste, could be leftovers, but that you could also produce on a local level, on a micro level. We're really working on the neighborhood level. And so for us, the Fab City Hub idea is a bit thought of as distributed, and not one space in the city that does it all, because this way a person in the city, a citizen, could think, oh, and then I need a Fab City Hub around me because I need a place where I can produce things, maybe I can repair things. And the Fab City Hubs could also be temporary in different places. So for some months there is a Fab City Hub in a Fab Lab, for example. The other aspect that I would like to touch is how do you work in a city like Milan? It's a big city and we have a lot of already active stakeholders. So especially in our unit, it's quite common to think about the city as at the service of who is already working. We're not coming there as a city saying, we want to make a Fab City Hub, this is how it's done, this is here, and that's it. But we're trying to understand how to work with people that are already doing things in that direction. So we work with an open call, we create a community of producers, and we try really to ask the producers, what is it that you need from us? How can we help you to go in a certain direction? Yeah, we'll keep it short because I want to give the possibility for Zoe to actually speak more about the producers. So what happens then when we work with the producers? This is also nice, this collaboration between NEMA and the municipality on the pilot gives us these 2 points of view.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Liat. I think that it's really crucial, this idea of imagining a Fab City Hub as a distributed way, because in a city like Milan, there is a lot of like micro and small enterprises already flourishing. That's been happening in the past 20 years, because a lot of freelancers or startups or small enterprises starting up with new ideas, because we are in a post-industrial society, and there are some areas of services and products that is not touched by the big companies. And so our focus actually, all the 9 cities of CENTRINNO pilots have a different topic, and Milan is focused on design and fashion. Of course, we have a limited amount of time and resources, so it's better to focus on a topic, and we decided, of course, as Milan, to say what's going on with fashion and design. There are tailor shops repairing and making things. There are for them it could be useful to have leftovers of textiles that are produced around the city of Milan. There are still some factories there, but also in design. There are new designs based on biomaterials, and the materials you can gather it through the city, because there are a lot of leftovers that are biomaterials, and you can create also small plants of processing this part. So the first I've been in the maker scene for the past 10 years, and so collaborating with the municipality of Milan also in sharing this culture of making, and so the maker culture is pretty broad, and I think that the concept of distributed Fab City Hub allows us to move in the different neighborhood of the city and curating some kind of relationship between subjects, because sometimes you see that small enterprises are really for them it's difficult to network, to collaborate, to work on innovation, and the fact of having someone like in the CENTRINNO project, but then it could become an association that creates the Fab City Hub that curates positive relationship between these subjects, allows us to create new jobs and also new products that are that comes from the metabolism of the city. That's the idea. So we are it's good that we can do this pilot, because we can really engaging since the beginning the stakeholders. Our stakeholder first target is small and micro and freelancers, and then out of them we try to find a way to also put them in touch with others and find opportunities. And then after that, I think in the next couple of years, we're gonna gather the citizens and say, look, there is these people that are doing this type of products, maybe because visibility of small companies is also not easy in a city like Milan. You know, like maybe you've come as a tourist to Milan, where do you go? In the central areas, and you don't know that there are artisans and makers that are doing much more interesting stuff in the outside of the center neighborhood. So that's the thing. Thank you.
Bojan, the starting point of Zagreb was to invest an old factory, and today the idea of this old factory and starting transformation from this place changed a little bit for the condition of the places, for changing of condition. And what is interesting in Fab City, in this idea of the Fab City Hub, is also the resilience that those places could answer. So maybe you can tell us about how the first idea of the Fab City Hub shifted to a different one in Zagreb, and giving a little bit of context on that.
Okay, gladly.
And how this shifting will bring the transformation and
Can I start from the transformation?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Because this is how we started.
Thanks.
In fact, several years ago, the local community asked us, the Faculty of Architecture, to come to Sesvete, which is the east part of Zagreb, where they felt they didn't have the urban quality and standard present in other quarters of Zagreb. They are a big quarter, 70,000 people, the best demographics in Croatia, so they were very, how can I say, they became, they needed some kind of, they had a feeling that they needed to transform the quarter. So we looked at it in general and proposed something after making a study that we called the green and blue Sesvete, how this whole quarter should develop. And in order to satisfy some of their urban needs and facilities they lacked in Sesvete, we saw that in the middle of the whole situation was an abandoned meat factory that stood there abandoned for 10 years, which was now a property of Zagreb, the city of Zagreb. And we suggested that in the transformation of this abandoned meat factory, we could solve all of the necessary needs for the urban standard and quality of life that they are needed. One of the buildings was the former head office of the whole factory, which was in a good state, and then we proposed to the local community and then to the local municipality that we transform this into a hub. It took some time to explain what a hub was, what it does, what could be the impact of the hub, and why we see this as an important trigger for the whole process that I explained. So the process would be, and we got Fab Lab Croatia on board because it was important. They were doing a lot of stuff around, visiting schools, promoting the digital technologies and so on. Had a huge knowledge, had a huge network. And established, together with the local community, an NGO locally that would promote this to the local community. They are from the community. So, as three partners, we started talking about the hub. The hub was the trigger to establish a new focus in this empty space, or this emptied space, that would bring in children, fathers, mothers, family, friends, and so on, with their own different kinds of activities, and somehow would show the community that there's a huge potential there which needs to be developed, and this would be conveyed to the city of Zagreb. And so for several years we were working on the hub. We were also working on all kinds of different activities at this abandoned brownfield. The former mayor and the present mayor both gave huge support to the idea of transformation, urban transformation of Sesvete. Mm-hmm. We somehow saw that the hub would be the testing ground for this. If we manage to do the hub, then the music school will follow, the health center will follow, and everything they needed locally could be done there and maybe produced a new area. Also, we proposed a big green corridor connecting different settlements there, which now are somehow cut off and not really brought together as an urban structure. I don't know if I answered well. Anyway,
but you give me the.
But can I just continue on Zoe? So
yeah.
it wasn't easy to get things done with the building. We had an earthquake. It got on standby, and so. So now we are also approaching the idea of distributed hub, getting people involved and having them active for the moment when we will be able to return back and redo the building.
You touch upon an aspect that was not mentioned very clearly, but I think is important in order to talk about transformation, is that one of the research line of CENTRINNO is the heritage. How we transform places and city, bringing something from the past and combining with the new technology, with the transformation, etc. And so I would like to understand how your three different experiences are giving an answer to this. What's the heritage that we bring to transformation? What's your relation with the heritage, and who is also because there is a strong component of who is allowed to decide who is the heritage, and I think in Copenhagen you are asking this question, and then we could go to the other cities.
Yes, it's been like working in the neighborhood of Nordvest. It's as soon as you go out there and move around, you kind of sense that there's a certain identity or a feel of belonging also among the people living out there and operating out there every day. So it's really interesting for us to also have that take on the development process, like looking at what is actually the heritage within the area and how do we underline this and use it as a catalyst for the development that we see going on. As the others are also mentioning, that the city of Copenhagen is also developed in a rapid pace. A lot of old buildings are torn down and new buildings are popping up. The housing market is racing to the sky. So how do we make sure that we sustain some of the buildings where we have this old soul, but that's also affordable for businesses and for people to actually live in and work in. So that's been kind of the starting point for working with the heritage. And from the project side and from CENTRINNO's side, we've been working with this method called emotion networking, which is really based on actually creating or co-creating the heritage of a place or an area. So giving over the power from the municipality side to the people and the actors actually using the area side for them to also decide and put words on what is important in this area. And we've used that quite actively, also working together with the municipality to see what's the potential for actually pointing to these important identity markers in different areas, and using, of course, Nordvest as a testbed, but that's also a huge potential citywide. And we've been working together with some people in the municipality, developing these zoning plans, deciding what is preserved and what is maybe potentially torn down. And there has been some conflicts the past years in Copenhagen with buildings being torn down that were actually quite important to the people in the local areas. So it's very much on the politicians' agendas as well to see what approaches and what tools do we have to kind of avoid that in the future, basically. So getting the people to point to these important markers in the areas, identifying that themselves, co-creating, so to speak, the heritage that's in a neighborhood and what we really want to underline is important for the soul and what we want to sustain in an area is quite an important task within the project as well.
Important and challenging also.
And challenging as well. It's also a question of taste, right? What is important and why is an old industrial building important to preserve? For some people it's crucial that it's there, and for some it's just a building that they pass every day. What we've experienced is that it's a really good dialogue starter to get people talking and reflecting on what is actually the kind of the soul of an area, and what do we want to sustain, yeah, as I said, and really fight for keeping in an area. And how do we also make that grow then? When we know what our unique identity or markers are, then we can also explore how to make that grow even further, and it gives people a sense of belonging, I think, and also something to fight for and a wish for actually sustaining that community and that network that can be in an area. And hopefully we will also see that spreading to the businesses out there. What is actually our joint or common mission? Why are we located in this area? What's important for us? And how do we use the resources, all different kind of resources, buildings and people and everything, in better ways, also in the future. So in that sense, we're working on like massaging that into the praxis of the municipality and how they're developing these plans, and also working with local committees that are placed in different areas of the city to see how can they use the emotion networking and the approach to heritage to actually starting those conversations, so we don't end up in those conflicts again in the future.
Thanks. In Milan, your relation with the heritage, I have the feeling that is much more related to the craftsmanship, the textile, the relation, not with the buildings, but with the knowledge that the city and the people from the city has established, that finally is a relation with the heritage linked to the space of the city. Could you tell us a little bit which are the activities also that you are doing in this?
Yes, so I think we again have a sort of double view on that, because from one hand, it's what you just said, and it's also about the way you used to make things and the way that you could make them, and I will leave Zoe to speak about that. On the other hand, you cannot ignore in Milan a huge heritage, an industrial heritage. This happens in many cities, but maybe the identity of Milan as a successful city was built around work and around industry, no? So there were the huge immigration flows towards Milan because there was work there, and the type of work was industry, the factory, and the industry and the factory not only was integrated in the city, but also took care of housing, of services. So the industries actually built the city. And so we do also have this heritage that is related to buildings. And of course, as happened in many European cities in the 80s, when the industries left, they left a void. And this void has changed again the neighborhood. So from a neighborhood that was taken care of by an industry, everyone's happy that the industry is gone, you know, the smoke and but on the other hand, abandoned areas created places that were not pleasant to live in. And then they were slowly, with a sort of regeneration process, filled with another type of industry, this is the service industry. And this has changed the neighborhood again, excluded and included other people in the neighborhood. And when we work now during the CENTRINNO project, we work in the next industrial place. It's called Base, and it's the best example of how you can take a huge place and transform it from an abandoned natural place to a cultural place. So here we use culture to do that, and in the neighborhood we have a lot of conflicts around that, and this is why we are also using emotional networking, and we do that with the people that work in Basel, and they say, for example, from a structural point of view, industries and factories had walls, and people don't overcome these walls today, even though you're doing something open. So there is this structure issue, and when we talk now about proposing production in the city, we have to be very sure that we are taking in consideration the heritage. So people that are living in that neighborhood, they used to produce in a way, they used to work in an industry, it's there, no? And yeah, on the other hand, the production themselves, when we talk about circular economy, using waste, using leftovers, this can be very new, and this somehow comes in conflict with how they used to do things, no?
Yeah, just 5 minutes left.
I only say a sentence. Sometimes it's just, when you say heritage, it seems like a bit of romantic, but actually the point is, how can you do something good and with our new mindset, with sustainability and stuff, despite the heritage? So we have huge factories, huge polluted territory, because, I mean, factories leave pollution. We have this fortress in the cities. In which way can we reframe this, involving the citizens, and fighting also the rising of the rents to allow craftsmen and people that make things with their hands, not in the factory, to stay in the city, because that's the real problem that we need to fight.
The same?
Yeah, my
Heritage.
question is, what's
Heritage.
which kind of relation
Yeah.
your hub is established, your idea of hub is establishing with the heritage of the city?
Yes. The same stories, the industrialization and the void left after the industry stopped is the same. There's a lot of people that, generations worked in this industry, and they might be sentimental. This is what we try to find out through emotional networking, but the new generation don't have a relationship to this. But still, we thought if we were to leave something out, apart from the building for the hub and some other, should we leave the silos that were in the center of this whole situation and making a mark on the whole territory? And if we do that, okay, there will be some questions of circular economy. We wouldn't have to destroy so much, and we would still have this thing as a memory of the past, but could we then make it into something interesting and new? And this is where the physical heritage stops. And then we thought, okay, the same as in Milano, we got now services, small scale, distributed, nothing of the big scale and the big vision of the industrialization. And if we start talking about digital technologies in the hub and change the mindset of the new generation, maybe we should be asking the new generation how they see the possibility of the silos. Maybe in the mindset of the new generation, which is, of course, not only school children, but older, they might see the silo as a data center and give it new life.
Yeah, actually, the answer to heritage is exactly open the question to all kind of peoples. And what I find interesting is to open also the question to the younger, the children, and try to understand what they consider, what they want to bring to the future. Finally, is the idea of the heritage is that one also. We have, we are in perfect time, I think. Someone from the public has some questions? If not, I have a list of questions.
Hello, I'm Valerie. Maybe it's a bit contradictory, the idea, but urban talks, I mean, these urban labs and everything, it's really related to the people, to the city and the way we live in the city, but is there like a sort of idea of the reconciliation with nature also? Because in the world today, everything is happening in cities. The majority of the people on the planet live in cities, and there's a disconnection with nature and related to the sustainability world that we need to go towards. There's a sort of I mean, I just wonder how connected to nature this urban hubs can deal with and maybe bring to the people living in cities. I don't know if I make myself understand.
Some of you want to take the question?
To try and answer your question, we have at this moment, we have two projects. One is CENTRINNO and one is ProGirec, Productive Green Infrastructure, and the same pilot. This meat industry is the same pilot. So in CENTRINNO we look what are the future production ways, which would generate a new generation of people and maybe, how can I say, define some new criteria for the urban development. The other one is looking at nature-based solutions and how we bring nature-based solutions to the new urban development that should start there. So green corridors, green facades, green roofs, and so on. So our hub was designed so that it had a green roof and it had green walls, and we were very eager that it wasn't just makerspace, Fab Labs, startups and so on, but the local community and local NGOs that deal with maybe ecological stuff have a space there. They could, prepare events and talk with the community about things. For us, it was always a community-driven hub where the NGOs know the community and can provide problems. And maybe people like makers and others, startups and IT people, could find solutions for those problems.
Thanks. I have a question for Milan. I wanted to know if, based on your experience, which are the advantages and disadvantages, if any, to work on the neighborhood scale and not on a city scale. So when you were talking about micro factory and really small communities, small environments. Thanks.
Yes, thank you. So there is a challenge to work on a neighborhood scale. We see it now, for example, when we have collected around 60, 70 producers that we are talking to and that we know exist on the city level. And when we look at the map, not necessarily the sort of networking and relationships that we are trying to create between them are possible on a neighborhood level. No? So when we try to say, let's try to create a synergy between 2-3 producers so that they can create something new, it was very difficult to think that this will happen on a neighborhood level. Okay, so the situation now is that very often we meet producers from the whole city, and then what we would like to do in this second phase, let's say, is to explore more both the waste that we can have from a neighborhood. Again, with Zoe, when we looked for waste or leftovers, they were not necessarily from the same city, so we decided for a distance that we opt to when we look for them. But to work on a neighborhood level makes a lot of sense, and it's an advantage when you reach citizens. Because of course a citizen would use the Fab City Hub only if it's in the specific neighborhood, right? So right now if you need to go somewhere else to produce or to repair, you would not do it unless you're really passionate about it. So I think that our challenge will be this one. It will be to understand how to buy those neighborhood Fab City Hubs to get the citizens involved.
Just a clarification. In your case, a neighborhood, how many citizens, which are the dimension that you consider?
I mean, consider Milan is 1,200,000, and we have nine neighborhood in Milan, districts. So yeah, divide, I think, more or less.
I think that's also interesting in regards to working the way we are in CENTRINNO, like pilot-driven, because the cities have very different scales. So we will also be able to learn from each other. Like you're saying, like Milan, 1 million, Copenhagen is quite smaller. So also, what are like the boundaries of the experiments that we're approaching, and how do we learn from each other? Like doing something in a neighborhood scale in Copenhagen is super small. So we will very fast have to look across the neighborhood boundaries and look citywide, and also always with the focus of, okay, what's the national scaling potential in everything we do? But it shows us the possibilities and the boundaries of working in that small scale, I would say.
Yeah, I have one question. And it's related to language, because we have a lot of different terms that we tend to use in these projects and when we talk with colleagues, but sometimes this is difficult to understand to other people. So I would like to ask all of you, how would you describe the action, the activity that happens in a Fab City Hub, and why it's good, it's positive for the city to a complete outsider? Yeah, no, I'm just saying that, just asking this to a complete outsider, to someone that doesn't know anything about this. So asking, or sorry, not asking, but telling this person what type of things happens inside a Fab City Hub. So what is it that it's, what type of action, activity, I don't know, what happens there, and why this is positive to the city. That I'm sure that it's a different answer for each city, but that's why it would be nice to know this diversity.
I think Pablo is asking why people from Barcelona have to come to Milan to a sort of promotional speech. Come to Milan to see the Fab City Hub, or to Zagreb.
I think that with this type of work on neighborhood, and in Milan, it's like an organic activity that is happening, that neighborhoods are becoming more like focus on their characteristics that are different from another neighborhood, and they're organizing themselves like festivals of the neighborhood and things like that. So the Fab City Hub is kind of pushing in this direction, involving also more producers. So you will find more like original activities happening, not just in different type of neighborhoods. So if you are in the south of Milan, you don't have to go in the center, but you can stay in your area where hotels are cheaper, and things are going on, like movie festivals, but also like craft workshops and small production and designs activity. So it's not just focus on big hubs, institutional hubs, but this type of activities that are involving also could be visitors, could happen in we call it the belt of Milan, and it's interesting.
I think also, like from a broader project perspective, what I hope to also get out of it is that we get also the tools and approaches to kind of highlight the differences. So we realize that we don't need all the same things in all different neighborhoods. So when you move through the city, you also experience the differences that we're able to also develop with this put in center, so the different identities and the different communities and the different type of networks and how they affect the neighborhood that you're in. So you don't have a Copenhagen that's just the same all over, but hopefully this can help highlight the differences across the city as well.
What to say? I think for the past 20 years, all of our European cities are going through transformation. And the hub is a concept that somehow is one of the instruments that can be used in somehow directing this kind of transformation. This instrument is geared towards digital technologies, production, somehow identity of the place, and in that sense, how can I say, it's very important for the communities that are left behind after the industrial part has finished.
From monoculture to permaculture, in the sense that more diversity of, you know, if you live in a city of Milan, you have like a big brand that sometimes it doesn't reflect the people that live there. That is something that is an heritage, okay? And I think that this can like push the diversity of the creativity that happens in the city.
We are, okay. Thanks a lot, thanks to all of you. To see all the activities that Pilot City are doing, and they are doing a lot of activities. In the web pages of the CENTRINNO, you can be updated, you can decide when is the best moment to visit Milan and Zagreb and Copenhagen. So I hope that this talk has been useful, inspiring, and they will inspire you to travel across those 9 cities to see the evolution. Thanks. Thanks a lot.